So tonight is Wednesday, June 14th, 2017, and I'm going to call this planning board meeting to order. I'd like to go around the room first to have everybody introduce themselves. Starting on the right.
Robert Davies, alternate.
Teresa Bascom.
Edward Veal.
Susan Mooney.
Gary Anderson. Joe Clough.
And Paul Colby, code administrator.
And for the record, Mr. Davies will be seated and voting for Mr. Grotnice tonight. We have one public meeting, or I'm sorry, the first public meeting tonight is conceptual for a business conceptual for 5 McDaniels Road, I apologize. So if there's anybody here that would like to speak towards that, yeah, just please come on up and identify yourself and just give a quick overview and just for the record, so everybody's understanding. So conceptuals are meant, they're non-binding. We can't go into great detail, but it's kind of just give you an idea of, things that kind of jump out at us and for us to have a chance to have a little bit of feedback and to give you some direction and where to go from there.
Excellent. I am Karina Haley, and I'm here tonight to discuss the project I have in mind of utilize the barn for events, mainly weddings. So should I go on and just go ahead and start? Or?
Yeah, I think just give us a little background of where the property is and
Okay, as you know, it's on 5 McDaniels Road, and this will not be my main business. The main business will be flower farm and a flower shop. And then I had friends coming over and asking to have weddings and this and that, and I start to be 1 or 2 weddings would be fine, but then I start to be a little worried, and then I thought, well, why don't I see about the idea of having it as a business, and then we went out and checked a few barns in New Hampshire where they are operating they have a farm, and then there's a barn, a clean barn, and they with no bathrooms. They offer porta potty. So, but again, my main business is going to be a flower farm and a flower shop. And the reason I gave you that is just to give you a little bit of the history. If you look at the handout, this property has been in my husband's family for I counted today 271 years. The certificate here was when it was 200 years of Constitution, and the state of New Hampshire, the agricultural department, gave to his family. So it's a very unique property in that sense. So, and if you go to the next page, this picture was taken in 1895, when the barn was built. This is my husband's grandmother. And the next one is like how the barn looks like today. And the next page is, I show you a program that the New Hampshire Preservation is running, about 52 barns in 52 weeks. What they're looking for is to save barns so they don't deteriorate. For example, the barn, we have lived 27 years in Barrington, those abutting this property. Our barn is 20 years, has gone really down. This barn, however, is in a fairly good condition, but of course it will require some investments, like roofing, posts, some beams, and floors. But and then we are going to apply for this grant. This is a grant where somebody come and to assess the barn. So, in the next page, I found on your web page, actually, this tax incentive to sort of have in mind to preserve the barns and the rural aspect of the architecture. And I would love to, at some day, to use this for the future, if you want to add a bathroom, because I would love to add a bathroom, but just now, by starting business, I know it's going to be very hard to come up with the money up front to start. I would love to have a bathroom there because I think it would be much more marketable. So in the next page, I was reading a lot about agritourism, and I have been involved with the UNH cooperative extension for quite a while in regards to farms, and I have been in contact with farmers. I have been participating in a lot of their workshops, totally geared to farmers. And then it came last year in May, they finally approved agritourism. So the state of New Hampshire is really backing up any venture that is associated with the farms, you know, to attract more tourists and again to maintain the natural architecture of New Hampshire. And this article is just because I read so much, but then there is this last paragraph. It's you know, talking about yes, the state is sort of behind it. It says, importantly, towns are still free to regulate agritourism at local level as long as they are not prohibiting agritourism. I think that's very vague, which must be for you out as well. So and that's pretty much why we are here tonight, is to see what do we need to do in order to be able to have events, mainly weddings. That's what I would like to have. The last page is the survey, which is already, the picture is there. Everything around it is protected, and the next neighbor is about a quarter of a mile from us. So we don't think you'd be disturbing anybody with noise, and I don't plan to have until late night anyhow. I really like the models of what the barns are doing. The other ones we saw, you know, they pretty much rent for the whole weekend. It's like for the same person from Friday to Sunday. The event is actually on just usually Saturday night. Sometimes it changes to Friday night or Sunday, and then they adjust the 48 hours. And that's pretty much it. So I'd love to have some guidance as to how I can start this.
Thank you for that. So,
Yeah, basically, Teresa and I went out and did a site visit to the property. Let me start at the back of her handout. The RSA covering the agritourism business will not be this property. It's not an active farm.
No, but I am, as I mentioned, the main business will be, remember, because I already have the application, the permit to start the flower farm and the flower shop. So that's going to be the main, that's going to be, my main thing is going to be.
You said you had the permits to start the flower shop. You haven't gone through site plan review for the town. Because that land is not zoned agricultural. It's in the industrial.
Not?
No, it's in the commercial industrial zone.
I thought
Everything 1,000 feet off of Route 4.
I thought it would be, I'm sorry, my ignorance, but I always thought that Route 4 was always agricultural.
no, a number of years back, it was changed so that everything, there were certain, it was identified that certain areas of town where business should be, commercial, things like that, versus residential. So everything within 1,000 feet of the Route 4 corridor was zoned commercial industrial as being the preferred primary use over residential and other activities.
So as we explained to you that they were out there, you're gonna have to go to the zoning board too. But why we had you come here tonight is a conceptual, so you could get the feedback like we are right now. And we'll be able to, in the office, better direct you and help you with what applications you'll need.
That's, I'm sorry, it's gonna be
Yeah.
like a surprise. I really thought I could have a farm there because I bought this property. That's why we live in Barrington, and my idea was to have a quarter, half an acre there, and then have the perennials at my home. It's like I want to finally, after we have lived there for almost 30 years, that we really want like to have a working farm. So I try to live off it, and. So, if I want to plant there, I would have to go through town approval?
If you want to plant flowers or vegetation of any type there just to grow, but as soon as you start selling it, then then, yeah, because you're not in the agricultural zone. Or you could do it as a farm stand, which is allowed under the agricultural laws in any zone, but then if you go that route, you couldn't do the wedding venue without going to zoning and reclassifying everything.
Okay,
Right.
I'm
Question.
very confused.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Would if it was weddings only, that would qualify
That,
as a
that would,
service?
that would qualify under our regulations under service facilities, so, I mean, she still needs some zoning for setback issues, but that's neither here nor there, and then our full site plan review, yeah. But when you throw the flower shop in, it's two different things.
Can I have the flower shop there or no?
If you wanna have a flower shop there to sell flowers.
It's a small, it's gonna be a
You would
very small,
qualify, and I forget the RSA number off the top of my head.
because
Got my book.
I thought I already have the permit for that,
Not
so-
from the town, you don't.
No, for the flower shop?
As a home occupation you did,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
Right. So,
Right,
if you wanna do that, that's fine.
okay,
If you wanna add in the venue for weddings and whatever,
uh-huh,
then that rechanges the whole home occupation purview of your paperwork we did, I don't forget how many months ago.
March, I think.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the wedding venue could work as a commercial.
The wedding venue without the flower shop,
But
as
it
long
really
as,
doesn't fall under the agritourism
right,
thing.
exactly. Now, if this was an active farm,
Yeah.
and I'll give you an example. Our family, we have a large 9,000 acre dairy farm in the state. Okay, we also host special events on the fields. We qualify for agritourism because we've got 600 cows. Where this is a vacant home in a barn.
It hasn't got going. I mean, it's.
Right.
Yeah, but
She was-
as of now, I am actually in contact with FSA and about writing the business for the farm. I mean, that's a huge piece of information because I really was not aware. I always thought that, Route 4, within X amount, I thought it would be agriculture. I thought Nottingham was agriculture. I'm sorry. I thought.
99% of the town is agricultural,
Right.
except for the Route 4 corridor and a little bit of right here, outside the window. And, yeah. I wouldn't fret over it. You can always petition a zoning board. And, I mean, because if you're gonna do the flower stands, that means we're gonna plant stuff that's always looks favorable in this town to keep our rural nature. It's just some extra hoops to jump through, but it's not something you wouldn't be able to do, I don't think.
Would I need like a site survey, for the farm?
Well, you would need a surveyor. I mean, we've already got one survey here to update. I mean, my other thing is, that just jumps out after walking the property with you the other day is, we all know there's gotta be some work done in the barn. We talked about that. But you're gonna have to have a pretty good parking area by our regulations. And I don't know how much that's gonna leave for garden space. That's my concern there.
Yeah, normally,
Oh, no, but I'm not planning having a huge, it's not like I'm gonna use the whole property to have a garden. I always thought in having half an acre there, which my annuals, and then it's gonna be half an acre on my property. Because eventually I want, because we own this parcel of land, I really envision the future, to have, trails where they can go and see the parade and see because it's just a start. I really hope it's gonna evolve from there. I have seen all the beautiful flower farms around, and they may even go into vegetable, but right now I
But
want
I
to
think Paul's
concentrate
saying
on one
if you
thing.
got 120 people at an event, you gotta have, so much room for parking and.
yeah,
Because one of the regulations this board would stipulate was no parking on the road.
Right, no, it's plenty of, it's
Right.
plenty of parking there. I mean, it shouldn't
Well,
be,
not really. When you look at what the size of a parking space has to be, there's quite a bit, but I wouldn't say a lot. Because you gotta take out the area of the septic system, you gotta have a buffer so far around the barn for fire safety. So, we're talking eating up a whole lot of land.
which still be okay, I mean, because it's 2 acres and,
Right. Now, our recommendation is, did we give you a site plan regulation the other day?
Yeah.
Okay, have whoever's gonna draw up your plans, have them interpret the parking, and he'll have to draw it on the plan
okay,
for this board to review.
okay.
Yeah?
So let's talk just about the wedding barn. What would I need to have? A site review?
Correct. If you're gonna go with the wedding venue, you would need plans drawn up based on the site plan regulations and our zoning regulations. And if you need more copies, just come in and see Joanna, we'll get you more copies. They're on our website. Have somebody draw up the plans, and Joanna will work with you to get the formal applications and payment. And then we'll schedule a time for this board to start the review process.
Okay.
Yep.
So is anything else that I should, so right now if I go on only with the barn, do I need to do anything else? I mean, besides the size review, so if, assuming the parking is gonna be determined, no.
Yeah.
And all that, is anything else that I should be aware of?
So things that I think the board normally would consider in any kind of application where there's, you know, you're in a kind of a residential area, would be, so parking obviously is one. The waste facilities would be a second item that we'd question.
The what facility?
Waste, so like septic, make sure the proper septic.
Okay.
Traffic analysis possibly, depending on how much traffic is proposed for the venue. And
Even if it's like a once a week type of thing?
and then noise is obviously, would be a concern too for neighbors, you know, with weddings generally come, or receptions come bands or music, so, you know, it may be limiting of hours or whatever, but it's taking into consideration, you know, that anything that happens here, like noise and stuff like such, will obviously leave the parcel and get to other areas, so, make sure that it's not negatively impacting, you know, neighbors. And then,
But they would be notified, right, from on the day of the meeting?
yep,
So,
that
but
is
what
part
I
of
would
a-
like to do, in regards to noise, because what I saw across the barns I have seen, they usually, by 10 o'clock, there's no sound anymore, and by 11, they need to be out of the premises. So, but what would you like to do with the plan about noise, or?
But that would be like one of those considerations is to make sure you have something thought out about that to address it and to, you know, like you said, you know, we would set these limits of, you know,
Yeah.
by 9 or 10 or whatever that be done.
Yeah, no, yeah, yes, that's right. I mean, it looked like it has been working for other barns, you know, and, but I'm wondering, are you going to ask, can I use as a barn, or do I have to have a bed? Because my main concern is expenses, so that's why I'm here today, to see if it's some kind of a project I should pursue or not, because I would hate to see the barn going like ours, you know, our home is going, and the only way I'll be able to really save a barn is if there is a functionality into it. You know, because then I'm gonna repair it. Otherwise, it's gonna be there for, like our other ones, for 30 years. It's sad to see that we don't know how much we are going to have to spend now. Opposed to this one that's still, you know,
I have a couple questions, probably more for the board. Number one, this will be for you, is this gonna be a year-round facility?
no.
Only a base.
It's just gonna be like probably from
Summer
mid-May to
event.
mid-October, yeah.
So there'd be no heating of the barn?
No heating. What people do, they
How
rent.
about kitchen? How about kitchen area in the barn?
The barns I saw around, that's why I didn't think I could take off this project. I thought of it a long time ago, but
So in other words.
The answer is no,
so
yeah.
in other
When I
words,
saw
if
the
they-
other
if-
ones-
If there was a wedding, it would be catered, it wouldn't be.
exact, everything come from outside, nothing's gonna be there.
So that leaves the third thing, which is, does the town require functioning toilets in a commercial facility?
I mean, you would have as I meant, a border
No,
party, that's how,
Porta potties won't cut it. I told you that before. You've got to have permanent facilities. It's in the building code for
I know.
places of assembly.
okay.
Yeah.
So that also means that you're gonna have to have some sort of way of keeping that stuff from freezing in the wintertime.
I mean, you could use the house as bathroom facilities.
Would the septic need to be updated though, or?
Well, you'd have to have that, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
So it's
There'd be
a,
nothing prohibiting them, say that they did make that accommodation, saying that the house is the public facility.
Yeah, you could do the post, but
And requiring, but then them requiring their guests to rent portlets. and use those.
It's supplemental, you could.
Supplemental, right.
Right, but the issue is then you still have to have an ADA required bathroom
So if
permanently there, so.
So if it's maybe considered, just a question really, seasonal, which it sounds like it will
It is gonna
be,
be seasonal.
maybe that's one,
I'll put my health officer hat on, that's something I can look at, but until we see a plan of how
Right.
everything's gonna be laid out.
these are all things the
Right,
board's
yeah.
going to.
Yeah, but you
Could it
know,
be
it's like, you
seasonal?
know, I'm sorry.
With it being seasonal, wouldn't she be able to get away with composting facilities though?
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
that's another alternative, yeah.
Outhouses are illegal in New Hampshire still, so, yeah.
So
Like Clivus Multrums, composting toilets?
composting toilets and then having, you know, the running water that's out there in the
Yeah, for
summertime or
sanitation
springtime.
purposes, yeah.
For hand washing,
Yeah.
No, okay, yeah,
I mean, she has options on that.
because Girl Scout camps do that all the time.
that's right. I mean, my main reason here today is because I truly didn't think I was going, when I see the regulations from the town, there's no way I can afford, pretty much. But then a friend of mine said, why don't you go and see all the barns? And that's what we did. They all are, you know, some of them, like they just started this year, they have a bathroom, because really that would be the goal, you know, but to start, a lot of them operating without restrooms.
But that was up in Guilford, I think different towns it's different.
I know, yes, I know, we know that, I mean, that's why we are here, so.
Maybe.
I would like to ask a question on behalf of Mrs. Haley. Where does she go to get tax relief if she's going to upgrade the facility but doesn't want to incur increased taxes on the barn?
Board of Selectmen.
Board of Assessors.
Selectmen?
Board of Assessors.
Board of Assessors.
Assessors?
But it gets final approved by the selectmen, does it not?
Board of Assessors in this town. The only time is for tax deeding, the selectmen get involved.
Yeah.
But the Board of Assessors, because we have a Board of Assessors, they oversee all that.
Because I remember Romeo, I think, tried it, Romeo Dene, and his. I
Number
thought
of
went to
years ago,
select-
that's before we had the Board of
It
Assessors.
changed.
Board of Assessors is fairly new.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remembered it being on the.
Right.
The selectmen's agenda.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Yes, if she's gonna go for the grants for the preservation, yes, Ed, that would be, not for the tax relief, for the preservation, the selectmen have to hold a public hearing, because there's, chip money involved and
Okay.
and all that, so, yeah. Yeah, Romeo, that's the program,
So,
Romeo.
so the grants, the,
There's different parts of the grant.
okay,
Right,
got it, all right.
yeah,
So there's a couple options there.
right, yeah. And the tax exemption part, I'll be right up front, it's very hard to do, because you have to show, and you've got a little bit of the history here, you have to show that this barn has significant historical value. What does that mean? I couldn't even begin to answer. I don't know anybody that could.
I think when they see the house is already with the state of New Hampshire, they had to widen Route 4, and they moved the cemetery. The house is, the only reason it's not under the U.S. History Registry right now is because we are hesitant that once you do that, you have to follow a specification about how they want us to update the house and keep up the house, and that's a drawback. So about updating the house, but everything in that property has been very well documented
Yeah,
about it
part of that
being
probably.
history. I am, so, I don't know, I really would like a very honest feedback from you, because I don't want to go with the site review and then waste this money. I'm about to start this farm business, and right now I'm kind of really taken aback that the agricultural, where it used to be an agricultural farm, zoning, now it's not, you know, especially if you see that the first page, there was, you know, from the Department of Agriculture of New Hampshire. So I'm kind of truly surprised tonight about this information. And then, yeah, that's one thing, and the other is, so if I start the shop, I cannot start the barn, I cannot have the barn, so I'm confused. I'm sorry, I'm really confused.
The point is that you can do these things, but you've got to go through the proper procedure.
Okay.
Seeing as that area is not considered agricultural, even though you thought it was. If you want to use it as agricultural, the first step would be to go, I think I'm right about this, first step's going to be to go before the zoning board and get them to approve you using it as agricultural property. If they approve that, then she can do both. She can do the flower shop and the barn restoration and the venue.
Okay. Do I typically need like a site review for the farm too?
Not, that comes later. But step one is, before you even start on this project, you've got to get the zoning board of adjustment to agree that what you want to do is
Okay.
to the benefit of the town, and then they'll allow you to do it. But right now, what you want to do is against the zoning in this town.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It'd be
I
it'd be a
see.
special exception.
As far as the
It'd fall
farm.
under, it'd fall under the, as far as I can tell, the zoning, under the
Page 4
zoning
of the
ordinance,
zoning
page
ordinance.
4,
Yep.
which is a commercial industrial zone, where it describes it in the permitted uses. Letter J of that, then it says, by special exception by the zoning board, industrial and other uses, special exception may be permitted under certain criteria, and I think it's 3 criteria. So, you can look at those and see if you feel like it meets those. We're not the zoning board, so I don't want to speak towards it, but,
And I've just gone through this myself, so I know part of what you have to do
Okay.
would be to come in and talk to the planning office, and they have a packet that you fill out and it asks you specific questions about what you're gonna do. Once all that's filled out and you've got a plan, which you already have, to show to the zoning board, then they'll give you an appointment with the zoning board.
Okay,
You-
so I would have to come to this meeting when it's official?
Similar to this, with the zoning board. And you have to pay to have your neighbors all notified.
Okay. And would I be able to do that all at the same time, like the zoning? I mean, like the farm or
Well,
the store, or no? That's what I'm,
The zoning adjustment that I'm talking about is to
Just
be
for
able to
the farm.
use the barn, but to be able to use the property as agricultural
I
property.
see, okay.
Because you thought you were gonna have to do the agriculture to do the wedding barn. Now you could do the wedding barn without the agriculture if
Correct.
you want.
Right.
Just go that route.
Correct.
So, if I may suggest, Mr. Chairman, I think the best thing to do is go home tonight, when you have all your questions answered the best we can tonight, decide amongst yourselves, okay, what do I really want to do with the property? Then when you have that answer, do you want to do the wedding venue? Do you want to do the flower shop? Or do you want to do a combination of the two? So there's your 3 choices, or whatever else you can think of.
Okay.
And you come back in and see Joanne and I, call us up, make an appointment. We'll meet with you, and then we'll give you the proper forms and we'll write it all down, what direction you need to follow to
Okay.
get all your approvals. Yep.
Yeah, because I would like to have all 3, that's what I've been thinking all along. I mean, the barn is kind of an old thought, but it really became after reality for me after I started seeing these other barns. So, would I need, so the kind of bathroom you told, do you think the planning board would be okay with that? Okay, I'm gonna be very honest, I really want to know how much I'm gonna be spending, because.
They told you the composting would be a
Yeah,
plausible.
we can look at that
solution.
up. We can't give you a dollar figure, ma'am. To be honest with you, we can't, because, I've looked at the barn,
No,
you
I
got
know you
substantial work to
can't.
update the barn,
I know you can't.
site
Oh,
improvements and everything, so, you know what I
No,
mean?
I know you
No, but
can't,
you're
but.
you're asking if we'd be okay with
Compost.
a composting versus like a fixed
Exactly.
toilet. I think we'd probably defer to the building inspector / health officer, which is Mr. Colby.
Okay.
To make sure that by doing so, it wouldn't create any detriment in that we're not violating any.
And I imagine
Yeah, I
that would
see.
depend on how many people. If you were gonna have up to 120 people, then you probably need.
There's a requirement of how many facilities you need and everything else, so, yep.
Makes sense.
Ooh,
And the American Disabilities Act thing.
Oh, yeah, that's another whole, yeah.
yeah, it would be really sad if I cannot use the barn. You know,
can,
it would be, no, but it would, because I can take, no, I know the roof needs fixing, some posts and beams. I know that, now I have to research on this kind of
Yeah, but that's when we
bathroom.
work with Paul around structurally what's. needed.
Structurally, we'll work that out, but this board is above that. I mean, they're gonna look at what you're gonna use the whole property for. Individually, I'm gonna look at the structure itself. Yep.
Okay. But I don't want, I mean, like, if you ask me, I have to have insulation in the barn, things like that. That's what I want to kind
That's
of,
what Paul would tell you.
And this board won't, that's not their job. That's our job in the office. And really, until I know what you're gonna use the barn for, I can't really, so that's why you've gotta decide, and then make some time to come in and talk to me, and I'll give you, we'll give you everything you need to try to make this work for you.
okay, tomorrow morning.
I'm not gonna be here
No,
tomorrow
you are
morning, so
not.
don't.
I know you are here on third, because Thursdays too. When are you going to be here?
Thank you.
Problem.
Did anybody else have anything they wanted to add before? So,
All right.
Yeah, so call Joanna and schedule a time, and we'll meet with you.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much for.
thank you.
Thank you.
So next up on the agenda, for a public meeting, we had discussed impact fee options. I think we're going to review after meeting with Bruce at the last meeting, and he gave us a couple of different methods that we can use, and it's really up to the board as to which routes we go. I think we're trying to solidify that so we can move forward. Is that correct, Paul?
That would be correct. Trying to pull up the chart. I think you get it on the screen for us. That one. So basically, at our meeting with Bruce, he presented us with his worksheets over the last few months, I'm sorry, some different options. So, looking at the chart, everybody should have a copy of it, right?
Yes.
You know, the current, that's what we charge today. The total's $480.87, 4,220 goes to school, 667 goes to the fire department, and currently none to recreation. So, looking at, based on Bruce's models, he gave us for the school both a model A and B, which was the same price, and a model C and D, the same price. So we broke it down, if you look on the left-hand part of that chart, equipment replacement with the models, that you see the total jumps to a little over 5,500, 4,235 to the school, fire department would go up 800, and recreation would be a new fee of 500. That new fee of 500 is based on the current plan from Marston's, and that's the replacement. The next one is Bruce's. You'll see the fire department and the rec are the same. Bruce's model for the school, model C or D, reduces that, you can see, by $224 from what we currently are. This board discussed about what if we did no replacement cost. So that's the next two blocks on the breakdown. The town administrator and I have talked in the last week, looking at replacement costs for the fire department. He says it's almost like taxing people twice, because we put $100,000 about a year away in capital reserves for new equipment or replacement equipment. In the rec, there's no justification for replacement equipment because there's already funds set up for that.
Paul,
Yes.
originally, when we set this up 5 years ago or 7
Yep.
years ago, wasn't replacement considered not part of?
His interpretation, it is now. The law hasn't changed.
That's a new interpretation
That's
that he
Bruce's
gave.
new interpretation.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so the right-hand chart, based on our discussion at that meeting and different ideas the board members have got to us, again, the current's what we have today. Option number one would be, the big change is, the total's different. It's including the replacement costs, The school fee remains $42.20 just as it is today. The next one is the same thing. The difference is, model C and D, actually, let's make a change, because both of us proofread this, Joanne, and we missed it. The second column, option 2, should actually read 4907, 4202, then it should be 800, 500, and then we'll redo the total. We just flip-flop option 2 and 3. So, option, and Bruce even recommends that $500 option, I'll correct myself, that's based on the 10-year plan that was floated a few years ago for multi-million dollars. Okay, so option 3 was where the school currently has about $210,000 sitting there, and we still can't get a hard answer what they're gonna do in March. The options we listed for 3 and 4 were, no, I guess we were right, Joanna, I'm sorry, I apologize. Was option 3 would be with replacement cost for zeroing the school out, or option 4 would be zeroing the school out, the fire department 344, and why that drops from 667 currently is the bond's almost just about half paid. It will be this year, so you can't justify the full amount. And then the rec would, that 343 is based on the proposed Marston Field. And then again, that line's got $200,000 sitting in it. Not from impact fees, from the townspeople voting a year ago town meeting.
Was it 200,000 in the pot for that?
Yeah, the town voted to take $100,000, I believe, from tax money and $100,000 out of the rec revolving fund.
You
For total
still, you
two.
still gotta have those numbers flipped in option 2
Yeah,
and 3.
yeah, well,
If
they
they come
gotta
from, if they match up on going across.
Right, so, you know,
What was the rationale for zeroing out the school again? I don't understand.
well, number one, they have not spent. Before the next school district meeting, we start to turn money back.
Right.
Okay? They do have a plan. Jackie Snow from the school board at our last meeting said that not only do they have a plan for full-day kindergarten edition, but because they believe the population of Nottingham is so diverse, they need to offer multiple foreign languages. And it was suggested by one of the board members, your board, was if we zero out, we're not eliminating impact fee because that takes an act of town meeting because it's in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
But the planning board controls the dollar figure. If we zero out the school now, they've got 210 rounded off sitting there. If in March the townspeople say, hey, wait a minute, we've got, you know, yes, we're gonna vote for whatever their proposal is, we just hold another public hearing and put the impact fee back in.
Any developments after this were decided, though, would be...
Well, yeah, but I mean, right now, like Maple Ridge is being built out, they're exempt. So there's 42 lots that aren't gonna pay the impact fee anyways. And we have no major subdivisions. We have a 3-lot subdivision, gonna be 2 new lots coming up in July, so, you know, we're talking pennies.
Okay.
Yeah. So we try to think of all the options to give people, so you guys can make an informed decision. Again, talking with Chris, you know, the replacement cost for both the fire and rec, I think is a little more because it's almost like double taxation. But that's your decision. We were kind of looking at, staff was, if we could kind of make a decision tonight of what option, then we can post the public hearing and schedule the public hearing. And basically, that's like any other public hearing. Townsfolk can come in and go, no, we think you should charge this or not charge this, and then you guys make your informed decision after public input.
There's a couple of things on that, so thank you both for putting the time in, trying to consolidate all that, material into things for us that we can kind of pick and choose from à la carte in a much easier manner. I believe the school board, the money that is probably set to expire in 2018, they said that will be spent this year, if I remember correctly, because they have hired a planner or hired a person to do a new assessment on space utilization, I believe, or they've got it bid it out right now, I think, is what Jackie had said. The double taxation, I think I disagree with that, because that could be said with any impact fee. If someone pays an impact fee and then we bond out anything, including the rec department, or we put aside money at town meeting for that, it's not necessarily double taxation, so I guess that's.
Yeah, but going forward, if you just moved into town to a new house and I charge you the impact fee,
Yep.
in your tax bill this year, you're also gonna get whacked for everything that was voted in at town meeting last year, for the capital reserve accounts. So legally, the definition is double taxation.
And then with the fire department, is that a requirement where just I mean, obviously the town built the station to take in that increased capacity. So even though the bond is half paid off, I don't necessarily know does that really change the dollar amount that we should be collecting, or is it?
Bruce's recommendation is if we're not gonna do replacement cost, then we should reduce the 667 to, was it 340?
Okay.
344? 344, yeah. Because if we still charge the full amount, if someone would challenge at us, he says you really can't defend charging the full amount when we don't have that $1 million bond. We're down to, and I don't have the exact figure, I'm not privy to that, what the exact figure is.
Right.
I have a question. Do we have anything on the CIP that's going to ask us to bond for another piece of equipment in the fire department in the near future?
You know what, I'll just like to speak to that and say that, since I'm involved with the fire department now, that the chief especially has been doing a very good job at working with the capital reserve funds and making sure there's money's coming in, in March through that. And I know that he's mentioned the next piece that he has in mind, and I'm not positive what that piece might be, but it'll be a large piece. There is enough money in that capital reserve to pay for the full amount, so.
If the ambulance the ambulance is outside that because we have a separate ambulance revenue fund that the billing pays for our new ambulance, which I'm not sure when the delivery date is. We'll be getting a new one this year.
So that's not even in here.
The ambulance is total separate thing,
Separate.
yeah. So, and that's what I'm gonna say, is Jay has been real good about, hey, if I've got $200,000, I'm only gonna spend $200,000 or whatever. Yeah, he does a pretty good job with that.
I think that goes back to Mr. Bayberry's argument, though, about that the town is investing all this money in that any new development is benefiting it from it, and so that's why they can have a proportionate share of the burden there. So instead of us, so we're being extremely fiscally responsible by putting the money aside versus taking out loans every single time we buy.
But talking with the town administrator, his recommendation to the select board is to keep putting that amount in capital reserves every year, no matter what the impact fee does.
Right.
So,
I'd like to just mention that, make a couple points. One, this board I'd like to see this board looking at this more frequently than every 5 years. 5 years is what the law says to do. But I think, especially being, now the economy is at a high point, the changes may happen now or in the near future. So if we were to look at this yearly, for instance, and say, oh, okay, we do see a need, for instance, in the school, we can easily put money back into, an area that we see that need. But to be collecting the money where we can't see a need, it doesn't seem to make sense.
collecting money where we're gonna have to stop paying it back next year if it doesn't get used, doesn't make any sense either.
That's the other part of that, sure.
But the other thing, we have to hire Mr. Mayberry to do the study again. And how much is that gonna cost?
But do we need to do
No.
that?
No, we can review it every fifth year, you know, in that cycle, we'd hire Mr. Mayberry. But we can normally, every year if we wanted, we can do an internal
So we
review.
can put money
So-
in and
so if the-
whatever?
Yeah, you can
If the
change that.
school, if a school addition or whatever gets approved this March, we can come back and revisit
The zero?
the assessment next year.
I think that's good practice, but at the same time, I think we have to be cautious about it because planning tends to be years-long process, not, it shouldn't be something that we're just at a whim switching back and forth. I think having stability is helpful, so it allows the individual departments to know, okay, we kind of have this funding, or we might have something here to kind of count on, and we can go forward with it.
But you also gotta base this, and Bruce did, on a capital improvement plan, and the school has nothing in the capital improvement plan for the money.
So if we zeroed out any of these, and a plan comes before us, a plan is, someone submits an application for a subdivision,
Yep.
and then we say, oh, there's 400 lots,
You can't go back
we
and,
can't go back.
Right.
So right now, we have Maple Ridge, it's 42 lots,
right.
not 1 cent of impact fee for any of our departments. Those 42 lots are being built out, so we have not yet experienced the increased student load from that, and we'll never be able to collect impact fee on it. So we can get in a situation where once that gets built out, and there's definitely housing demand, in Rockingham and southern New Hampshire, everything you read is that there is a shortage of homes on the market. So say we get 4 100 lot subdivision applications come in, and now we have 400 new lots that we can't do anything about, but we're definitely gonna, as the taxpayers that live here now, are definitely gonna have to, you know, to deal with.
And to your point about the double taxation, if we are putting aside enough capital reserve to pay, let's say, that new piece of equipment we're gonna pay for 2 years down the road, the current residents are paying a burden on that, and then someone with no impact fee, the second that hits, now they're getting a benefit, but if they haven't had an impact fee, they're not paying any part of that really until their next tax bill comes in.
Because they walk in the door, yeah.
So we're paying for something over years and years that we don't get benefit from until it's purchased. The impact fee, if it's done right, would.
The other piece of caution I will give this board, if you keep the impact fees at a higher rate, there's already a petition article been written to eliminate impact fees at next year's town meeting.
And that's, I mean, ultimately, anything we do,
Right. And
Goes to the
the
town
people
vote.
that are doing the petition have said, if the planning board looks at, and they know what you're looking at, if they reduce the fees, we agree on paying some things, but we can't see putting money aside every year when nothing gets spent.
it would be wonderful if any single one of them would come to our meetings and have a discussion, be an active part.
Because we have not had a public hearing on it.
We've had public meetings on.
That's different. You can't take testimony in a public meeting. Read the law, Ed. You can't take testimony in a public meeting.
Okay, well, they could, every part of our meeting, at the end of the night, we have public comment, and we may not be able to speak back towards it, but we can hear input.
They plan on coming in once they have enough signatures. So,
So all that sounds like to me is a threat, and I don't think we should be scared about.
well, I'm not saying you should be scared. I'm saying you be prepared.
You know, we're doing our due diligence, and we've had many meetings, and we've had a planning professional come in twice that does this for the entire state. It is known as the resource for impact fees, so I feel pretty good about his recommendations, whatever way we go. But, and if the residents choose to put that petition before, that's fine, because it's gonna go to town meeting and a vote, and so be it, and we're bound by that, and that's okay.
So basically, this board has basically 9 options. The 8 listed here are do nothing and keep the current fee. Because we've had the study, we can keep the current fee as it is. Or you can pick one of the other 8 options, or come up with a different option.
Well, the current doesn't have anything for recreation.
That's correct.
I just want to ask, Ed, when Jackie Snow came in and talked with us at the last meeting, she had indicated that her council did not believe that impact fee money could be used for design.
They actually have legal opinion on that.
So
And
has
she's-
that moved forward?
They have still stand by that their legal opinion is you can't use it for replacement.
No, I mean for the study for new modulars or whatever.
I think they were planning on using.
Oh, they
she
could,
specifically said that they were gonna be using
that
it
they
for
could use, if they're gonna hire an architect or an engineer to plan out the layout of it, yes, you can use
That
the money
wasn't
for
her
that.
concern.
Right, yeah.
What they had said they couldn't use it for was when I suggested, why don't they use it for the generator? Because the school is also able to be used as a shelter in place, but they have no generator. And so I suggested why, if it can be used for new items that would benefit, and with having an increase in population that makes this place, this town hall, not capable of holding all of them, we have to put them somewhere else. So would that not be able to be used for that? He said yes, but she said their lawyer said no.
I don't think she said that. I think she said she would take it back. I think in the past, I think we mentioned that the lawyer, that their legal opinion was a big part of why they weren't using certain funds. They didn't use it for like the air handlers and things like that because they were replacement, and that's their opinion, that they couldn't use it for that. So I think their lawyer had a more narrow interpretation. But my understanding, my takeaway from that was that she was gonna bring that back to the board.
I wasn't saying she said no,
Yeah.
herself no. I thought I understood her to say that her counsel had said they couldn't do that. But maybe, I mean,
That's,
And I'll be honest with
You
you,
and the
that's
lawyer
really
come
something,
back.
if you're gonna consider replacement costs, we should really run it by, and Bruce said it up front, he's not a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's his interpretation, and we should really get a legal opinion.
And that's
Can we do
one
it?
thing that we saw, Bruce did, I don't like to use the word flip-flop, but he did, because he initially told us that was not something we could use the impact fee for.
Right.
And now he came back, because we're not using it really for capital improvements, all of a sudden it was, he felt it was okay to do that. So there's a question, I think there.
Did he mention, I can't remember if that's when he said there had been like a change in an RSA is to one of the definitions.
Well-
It's when you look at capital.
We got a legal opinion on that, there has been no change in the RSA.
It's a change in interpretation.
Right.
and impact fees right here.
I mean, we can second guess and send everything that Bruce says to our lawyer, and that's fine. He is, we hired him for a reason because he is the, outside consultant and what we consider the expert on impact fees. He is the predominant person that does these for we couldn't find anybody else that would do them. So we obviously value him or take his opinion pretty highly over and above our own knowledge of it. So he was saying that because of the expense involved, that you could, because it is on the capital improvement plan, you're calling it capital, that it's not just equipment. Like equipment, you would consider the items in the ambulance or on the fire truck. And things like that is what I believe he had said when he was here.
and then, earlier you said our replacement costs are already covered by our current funding for the fire department.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And at this point, the rec department has no replacement needs, because they have the rec revolving fund, that's the special account, and, anything like structural wise in this building is covered under the building maintenance fund of the whole town, so, yeah.
So it doesn't make sense if there's money's going in for the fire department and money's available for the rec department to look at replacement costs and fees for either of any of them. So I think those models, if we're doing like it's that HGTV, one of those home things, we can actually just X those out. Because it doesn't make sense to even look at those options when they're really not necessary. Then we would need to look at, do we need equipment or new equipment or replacement equipment for anything else? And the only thing that it sounds like needs any funding for a new project at this point would be the rec department, but they already have 200,000, so I don't know why we would even look at that at this point because we don't have anything on the plans for them. So I think we need to look at options where we're taking something away rather than adding at this point. And I'm not looking at making it so we are short-sighted with future development at all, because I agree with you, Ed, if you've got something like Rocky Ridge and we're not getting any impact fees from it, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with that, and I don't think we should do that again. But I don't think we should be impacting people for projects and things that we don't have any plans for at this point. Because then we're collecting money with just a hope, and that's not fair to them.
But it could be, you know, used like 3 or 4 years down the road, too.
If somebody had a plan for something for 3 or 4 years down the road, then that's fine, because we aren't collecting it with just a hope, we're collecting it with a plan in place. But there isn't anybody that's come before us at this point with a plan in place that exceeds what the monies are that are set aside for them already. I mean, if you've already got $200,000 put aside for the Marston Farm, and as yet, we don't really have anything other than the preliminary thing that came in with all these ball fields, and we're like, you've got ball fields. Let's look at something else for this, and that hasn't happened. So I think we shouldn't be collecting monies without a purpose and a plan for them. I think it will run us into just paying it all back.
I agree with that. I also agree that the impact fee, even if we're at the most expensive rate, has such a minor effect on a major project. For instance, you know, okay, the school is the bigger amount that we are going to probably always collect. Whatever project might come up, which we don't know what that is really, this will only put a very minor dent in that. You know, it may only be something that'll cover the planning. The major part of that is going to have to be raised
By us,
through
taxes.
taxation.
Absolutely.
Because if you read the RSA on replacement costs, it's not in there. Because it says right here, in order to help meet the needs of the occasion by the development for construction or improvement of capital facilities owned or operated by the municipality, including and limited to water treatment plant, we don't have one. Distribution facilities, we don't have one. We don't have a wastewater treatment plant. Disposal facilities, the recycling center, if we had to add on. It's on page 392 in your law books. Sorry, Joe, I grabbed yours. Sanitary source systems, we don't have. Stormwater drainage, we have a couple little ones here and there. Flood control facilities, we don't have. Municipal road systems, we have, but we're not discussing that. Right-of-way, municipal office facilities, and school facilities. Or if we were in a cooperative with a high school or a safety committee, you know, we had a joint safety building with other municipalities, the rest of it, we're not involved in.
The one thing Bruce said, because I was reading
Yeah,
that section
and
pretty
it's-
literally, but he said that there have been addendums in the past that are to read further into the statute in case there's anything that contradicts that.
But there may be addendums here, but if it's not in the RSA, our town lawyer says, well, another thing, we can't defend it. That's, yeah,
Fair enough.
so. You know, bottom line is, it's up to you guys what you want to do. We just need you to pick an option.
Do we have to decide tonight?
The sooner the better, because we're going to start pretty soon jumping on the zoning ordinance and our other projects.
Why
We have
don't
another meeting on the 28th. I'm just wondering if,
why don't we do some sort of a straw poll and see where people are leaning towards?
We're going to try to.
Well, I disagree with the double taxation thing, because that same argument could be used towards the bond. If they're getting taxed, why do they pay an impact fee towards the fire station bond and then pay their taxes that year for the fire station? And that's a double taxation. So unless you bond every single thing out, then you can never justify an impact fee by the sounds of it. So I, for one, if that was the rationale, would speak up at town meeting and request that we no longer put aside any money into capital improvements, that we bond everything, because everything we do.
But it costs you more money, because now you've got to buy the bond, you have legal fees associated with bonds, so that
You can all-
$350,000 fire truck now becomes a $500,000 fire truck just because you want to bond it.
And
Where
that's-
if we put the money away in capital reserve, we write the manufacturer a check.
And I
everything
think
part of
this
that
is a
can be
fairness,
calculated.
this is a fairness thing where the taxpayers are paying into a fund over time, that then there's a purchase and the person who just maybe didn't have an impact fee or a low impact fee is not paying their fair share, so to speak, with something that is now a new investment at the time that they're building.
We're never gonna go with anything that's fair to everybody anyway. 'Cause
No.
fairness is always in the eye of the beholder. What we really need to look at is what makes sense for our town. And what makes sense is not, I don't think we should go with nothing at this point because we need to look ahead. But look at something that's reasonable. Look at something that we can defend and say, this is why we made this ruling and this is why we went this way. Not just go with what's fair. We just ignore that word because it doesn't,
and-
it doesn't really matter.
I didn't mean that in the sense of
No, I'm
fair,
not saying
but
for you, but I'm saying that's what's circulating around. It
it's-
wasn't against
it's
you at all, Joe.
paying your burden on capital, or on the.
Everybody should pay their
the
burden.
impact fee. So if the taxpayers are paying into a fund over time for something that they're really not getting benefit from until the purchase is made, the impact fee is a way to, by ratio, have that new development pay into
Correct.
that, as opposed to if we were to zero out the school, and we've been setting money aside, let's say, in capital funds for a new school, that new development won't be, they'll pay in their next year's tax bill for a ratio of their taxes for the school, but not an impact.
Yeah, you can't compare the school, Joe, that way, because they don't set aside capital reserve monies for additions. It's not just this school, schools in general don't. They bond, like Ed said, they bond everything.
Okay.
So,
So let's call
yeah.
fire department. We decide that we need a new fire truck, and it's a better fire truck and it covers more territory. I don't know, just hypothetical. I don't know, I think, I agree with you that we should look at this fairly, and I agree with Ed that I don't think it's double taxation, given the way that we fund the CIP,
Yeah.
except for the school craft.
Yeah, and I know, and I'll be honest with you, with the school one, because we spend the fire department one rig alone, we're getting ready to do a withdrawal in July again for what we've got saved up, because it's from the bond payments due. But like the school fee, the money goes back to who currently owns the property.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have citizens in town that are gonna go, why didn't you just get a $4,000 check from the town? Merry Christmas.
But that scenario, by the sounds of it, by everything I've heard from the school board, wouldn't occur until at least 2019.
Not been any of their minutes.
I know when Jackie was here, she mentioned that they were planning on having a new assessment done this year soon to check because the assessment that everything was going by was about 10 years old, I think, for capacity and square footage and she mentioned all that changes. That the square footage requirements sometimes it increases, decreases per pupil and per need, and obviously, curriculums change quite a bit, from reading, writing, and arithmetic to, all the subjects that they offer now. And so those increase things. So it's not a quick process. It sounds like they're working on it, and that they have plans to expend the funds that that would be due for 2018, which I think was like three impact fees total
Oh, no, that's just in March, through impact fees.
for 2018. I thought
Yeah, and then
the first
as we
year
go
was
through
not.
the year, they keep adding up,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
But
first
isn't-
year was
isn't-
impact.
Isn't our goal tonight, though, to look ahead, not look at what we've got, what we currently have? So why don't we focus on what we're gonna do going forward and not what we've done now, in the past? We've already had the fees, we have monies, some that aren't being spent, some that are being spent, and we have to keep that in our mind for going, do we keep it at the same rate? But the issue really is, what do we want to do going forward? Not whether or not the school's gonna spend theirs, because that's really up to them as to whether or not they do. We don't have that control, that's the school, they're separate.
Yeah, and we don't want to solve the not having a plan for the
No,
money in the
we could
past,
talk
like-
all night about that.
Yeah.
We need to look at what we're gonna do.
guess the only other thing I would mention is, you know, we mentioned that in the scheme of the development, the impact fees don't really take into, they don't really come into play so much for the developer. But I can tell you, for the residents here, I've heard an hour of argument, or discussion in town meeting over a $100 line item. So, Maple Ridge being lost out on impact fees of $200,000, I can tell you now, residents of the town probably would be very thankful if we could collect that or half of it or any of it. So,
So which
being
impact,
cognizant of it is just.
then which plan do you suggest, Ed? We need to make a suggestion and then talk about its good points or bad, or at least go through the line and go, do you like this one? No, yes, no, yes. And then see what we have. Why don't we do that?
I'd like to say a couple things. One is that I miss Charlene not being here tonight. She is a very good bean counter, and whatever she brings to the table for a discussion like this has depth and knowledge. I would like to have her at the table for this type of discussion. I think that we could wait a little bit and see what happens to the school. If they are indeed going to spend some of their money, we might need to wait a couple months at most. The third thing I want to bring up, I'm looking at these options on the right-hand side, and option 1 and option 2 hold the school, have a fee of $42.20, and then option 3 and 4, nothing. Couldn't we have a compromise? It just drops like a stone.
You can
Nothing.
put, these were options different board members gave us.
So we can put in our own
We asked you to
numbers?
submit options and nobody did but one person, two persons.
This is a good
So-
worksheet, to work from, rather than just,
You guys can put any figure in there from 0, no higher than what Bruce recommended. So anything in that
yeah,
range.
I would say cut the 42.20 in half and put them in options 3, option 4. If we don't need the $800 in the fire department, then go down to $344. I'm not really sure about recreation.
The rec, that $500 was based on that 10-year plan we saw a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because when Bruce did it originally, so he says based on what the Marston Field plan is,
Mm-hmm.
343 would be the figure.
So I'm in agreement with pretty much where you're coming from, Sue, and so roughly, all right, let's say 2110 for the school.
2110,
And so fire department at 344.
344.
And then the rec, I think the 343 makes sense. The question I have there is, and this is where Charlene's input would be helpful, I think, is, is there a plan to use the funds that are there now? That's the question. We haven't seen really
Yeah.
or heard input
So
on
based
that.
on your suggestion, Sue, it's $2,797 would be the new total for that.
1,700, what?
2797.
97.
I'd like to see if we could get something from the school board. I think that is.
We have sent them an email and asked them and asked them and asked them.
Why don't we just,
I mean,
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we table the discussion, or a decision at least, until we get a written letter from the chairman of the school board.
Is that Mrs. Snow? She
Yes.
chair, yeah.
And that Charlene be present at the meeting, or at least forward written comments to us regarding our questions. Number 1, does the rec department have a plan for the Marston property, or the
Let me
Marston
correct you on
property
that.
people?
The recreation department is in the dark of the Marston property. They're
Okay,
not told
so
anything.
that's why I was just saying, or the Marston property folk, committee, whatever, get back to us.
The Board of Selectmen, that's who's in charge
Okay,
of
so
it.
then we need Charlene for it, period, and Jackie Snow's
Well,
input.
Tyler was supposed to be here tonight to answer them questions because Charlene prepped him for this meeting. And
Something must have come
I'd
up.
love to.
We don't have a
From
deadline,
the school
so-
board that says, yes, we have this solidified in our plan to get a new assessment done, and so that's gonna expend these funds, and that assessment's gonna tell us where we go forward. That would be wonderful.
And
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And for a deadline on this of July, what's our July meeting?
12th.
July 12th, so July 10th, for all that information to get back to us, or the Friday before our next meeting in July. Got that?
About the Thursday before, because then she's in the office.
The Thursday before our July meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I wanted to add one more comment on, personally, I don't feel comfortable just haphazardly cutting something just to say, let's do it in half. There's a number of 3363 that has some actual analysis behind it, and it's lower than the current one. Maybe we start there and see what that actually entails, because obviously he applied ratios, development over time, all those sorts of things, rather than just saying, let's throw a number on it, because I feel like that'd be hard to defend, just to say, we cut it in half, why we don't have any numbers to back it
The
up.
other thing is that, besides there a motion and a second on, which
Sorry.
we'll talk about, but, you guys send in any thoughts you have, they'll put them on another sheet of paper.
Well, we had, that option is here. That's on the left-hand column, the very last one. 3363 for the school, 344 for the fire, 343 for the rec, for a total of 4,050, so it reduces the impact fee by $837 from the current figure.
Let's get back to that for a second. We have a motion and a second to table discussion. Gary?
Gary?
I'll try to paraphrase it to table discussion until our July 10th meeting,
12th.
July 12th meeting.
Yep.
With request to the school board to get back to us Thursday before that, so July 5th.
7th.
Yep. July 7th, and to also have Charlene, as the board selecting rep, present. We have a motion in a second. Any further discussion?
Point of order, when you table something, does it take a 2/3 vote to take it off the table? Would it be better just to postpone?
Just postpone it. Just continue this discussion to the date we get.
We should.
I'm restating my motion to be
Or
a
rescind the motion?
postponing further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I can take back my second as well. I'll save it for later.
Wait, no, we were,
You're gonna take it back.
she was amending her
Oh, amending it to be a table?
postponement instead of table.
Postponement, so I'll amend mine as well. Excuse me.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Words are hard.
Yeah, if you have any options, others you want to see, get them to us, and we'll try to get the information from the school and go from there.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if we need to have Dirk or Ed or whomever, or even Susan, send a letter to, we go through Joanna, a formal letter
Joanna will
to
send a formal
Jackie.
letter on behalf of the board. Yep.
Okay, and then also to Charlene, because if she has vacation plans or something for that time, then we'll need to reschedule when we're gonna be discussing this, because it's obvious that without
We need a
guidance,
selectmen's rep here.
We're kind of treading water on something that we need to be making a decision on.
Well, I have a question too. How come the rec department is not involved with Marston? Should we send
That's a
a,
good question for the selectmen, Susan.
well, why don't we invite Courtney in?
Courtney was invited to the last meeting. Unfortunately, her high school softball team was in a tournament that night, so she couldn't make it.
Okay, well, let's extend the invitation again.
Oh.
You know, she needs to be in the loop.
Oh, believe me, I have tried.
Well,
That's a question for the administration, and that's above my pay grade, and I've asked the question and told to shut my mouth. They want to fire me tomorrow because of what I just said, let them do it.
There you go.
you didn't tell me to shut my mouth. Not yet, anyway.
If you want, you can just email Derek and let him know and see if he has any verbiage he wants to add in either of those letters. Excuse me. So that's it for public meetings. At this point, we have public comment, which is the time of night where we invite the public to come and discuss anything they would like with us. If it's about a specific property, project, or application, we may not be able to respond, but we can at least hear you. no one here tonight, but that's a rolling menu item on our agenda. So next brings us to our board of selectmen and staff board member updates. We'll go around the table. We'll start with Buzz.
I have nothing to add.
I'm part of the transportation subcommittee, and Dirk set the date for our next meeting, but I can't for the life of me remember when it is.
Next week, I think.
Is
The
it next-
21st?
22nd,
Yeah,
I thought it was next week, yes.
Whatever the Wednesday is.
A week from-
21st,
a week
here
from
it is.
today.
I have it.
yeah.
Okay,
And at 7
Thank
as
you.
well?
correct.
Okay.
So,
21st I have.
Mhm.
That's a Wednesday, yeah.
You may have to meet in conference room too. I'll
Yes, it
double
is.
check the calendar. Yeah, because this room was booked. We'll just make sure the door is open.
okay.
Transportation Subcommittee meeting will be held on June 21st, 7 PM, conference room 2. Anybody would like to join? I don't have any dates I can think of off the top of my head, so we'll just see.
I can't think of anything. Oh, we did get a copy from DES Wetlands Bureau on the Shea Concrete application for their wetlands. And you should have received a copy as well.
It's on the desk.
Did it come into, yeah, okay.
So they asked a bunch of, DES Wetlands asked a bunch of things that the applicant would respond to within 90 days or 60 days. And one of them is to answer concerns that the Conservation Commission had sent along to DES Wetlands Bureau.
Good.
So we will see. I think that's it. That's all I can think of at the moment.
James?
Let's see, the 22nd, looking forward to annual meeting for Stratford Regional on historic stuff, so I'll fill you in after that. Also, may or may not be the appropriate time to mention it, but I know Ed had a question about the 10-year plan and the minutes.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd address that. So that is the DOT 10-year plan.
Transportation,
and-
yeah.
And it will be, and it does go in phases. It'll, basically 3 years, 5 years, and so on, and then 10 years. So it's, projects are brought in by phase.
Yeah, I knew that was the one when you discussed it. I just didn't know if that was the one that
Was in the
the
minutes.
board of selectmen were referring to when they talk about, because they were evaluating town road conditions.
They were looking at the 10-year town plan.
10-year.
Our local plan, yeah.
So what-
Each town should also, we have the 10-year regional plan. Some towns have it longer, some towns only have a 5-year plan, but our town traditionally has a 10-year plan. And why they want to update that is, as we know, our road agent is retiring in October, so they're trying to get all the ducks in a row. Yep.
Couldn't find anything online, so I was like, I couldn't find a plan online.
You won't.
I know.
In a
It was
box
done
out
10 years
back,
ago,
I
it
think,
probably
someplace,
wasn't.
yeah.
The website conversion and everything, so, yeah. So that one in the minutes was the town 10-year plan. Got it. Okay. I'm sorry. Did you-
That's all I had, thanks.
Excuse me.
No updates for me.
Mr. Colby?
Couple of quick things. June 28th is our next scheduled meeting. I recommended we cancel it, if you guys would so vote. We have no cases, so, and this is, right now, the only thing we have is impact fees, and we just said we'll do that in July. In July, that meeting will also have on Canard Road a 3-lot, creating 2 new regular-sized house lots with road frontage. That'll be a combination subdivision hearing, scenic road hearing at the same time. And then Sue brought up Shea Concrete. I just haven't had the chance to see that letter, but the abutter to the east side of Shea Concrete, actually, that was the gentleman, Lori, if you were here, came to talk to me about tonight. He's actually in the process of subdividing his large acreage and giving them a piece. They're in the process for
What piece?
Shea Concrete, like a big 10-acre piece. They're in negotiations right now, and so that's radically changed their whole site plan.
That's a lot of wetland out there.
Yeah.
And it goes right into the North River.
Yep. So I think that's why we haven't seen a lot of progress in Shea Concrete. And that's pretty much it. If you haven't had a chance, take a look out back. The employees gave up their day of work yesterday and today, and playground maintenance. We've cleaned a lot up, there's still a lot to do, but
And from the update from the last meeting, are those still coming forward? There was two potential subdivisions that had gone through ZBA and two possible.
Right, and we haven't
this one on Route 4,
Yeah.
and then another one.
well, one of the site plans on Route 4, this was one we had tonight, that was one we talked about. The sale fell through with the land, but a new potential buyer just contacted me this afternoon and is looking at buying two pieces of property that were subdivided a number of years ago, on the corner of Garland and Route 4. And if he is successful at buying it, he'll be coming in for a voluntary merger, as well as a conceptual to open up a driving range and ice cream stand.
Is that cleared out area?
Yeah.
I've wanted to have a driving range there, I'm just kidding.
There you go. I can give you his name, you can contact him, and maybe he'll help you, you can help him buy it.
So we need a motion to cancel the next meeting on the 28th? I so move.
Second.
Second, oh, you beat me.
No, we said it together, I think.
And we'll post that. the
Motion
meeting
and a
is
second
canceled.
to cancel the June 28th planning board meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Move to adjourn?
No,
We
we
have
have
to do
minutes.
minutes.
Shucks.
Almost.
Just give us another couple of minutes.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is
Over 2
the
minutes.
approval of minutes. We have 2 sets. We can either deal with them separately or at the same time.
Same time.
We've been here for like 14
Everybody's had a
hours,
chance.
I'm guessing, so.
Joanna.
We accept, I move we accept the minutes of April 26, 2017, and May 24th, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of April 26th and April 24th, 2017. Any further discussion?
I just have a question. Didn't Gary make changes to one of those?
Nope. No, I just read it. He was just clarifying, but we already made the update on that. You're talking about the 10-year plan, right?
No, I did, prior to the meeting.
Oh, I
gave Joanna
As
just
edited?
I'm sorry. I wasn't
sorry,
here for that.
an edit
Thanks.
on the, and I don't have it right in front of me, but it was regarding the 10-year plan and,
Did it change anything, or is it just a clerical change?
it's just a wording, it is a wording change.
Clarification of what the 10-year plan is.
Clarify.
Okay, so
Well,
it didn't
was-
change anything in the minutes? No. That's all I want to be sure of.
Not really.
Before we vote.
Doesn't say 10-year plan here.
That still does, I'm sorry, I'm looking for it.
Are you doing Stratford Regional
It is.
Planning Commission?
Yes, it's here.
There's no
I'll just
10-year
let
plan
you-
there.
No, it was here.
10-year plan is up here, but that's the town one.
Line 48 on April 26th.
48.
April 26th is the single page.
It's on the back, it's page 2.
The 10-year transportation plan. But this was Stratford Regional Planning Commission update, the 10-year
Right, and that's what I
transportation
was
plan.
referring to. Okay, it was line 49, transportation plan. It says currently narrowed down due to the list being too much for DOT, and my suggestion was to narrow down to reasonable budgetary constraints. So it's nothing major, but I did give that to Joanna.
I'm gonna steal that.
You good with that?
Due to budgetary.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. 6-0. So words are hard tonight and counting is hard tonight. I'm glad I have 5 others to. Plus the other two, so.
I move we
Anyhow,
adjourn.
thank you.
I beat you to
Do we have a
the
motion to adjourn? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ed.
Don't leave yet, Gary.